right, and welcome to Across the Bar podcast. And today we have somebody very special, somebody very near and dear to my heart. One of my favorite artists. Besides like the Andy Warhols, the Da Vinci's, the guy that cut off his ear, Van Gogh, Pablo Picasso. I welcome none other than Eflo. What's up, brother?
Thank you for the intro.
Yeah,
Los, that was amazing. I'm gonna use that as my ringtone.
Take two, man, because we forgot to hit record the first time.
I know we spent like 5 minutes having a conversation. It was so fun.
It happens.
Hey, this is the beauty of it. It's the beauty of the journey.
Yeah,
it's the beauty of the journey. So,
but dude, you're coming from Mexico City, man.
Coming from Mexico City, gonna spend some time with the family.
How's that been? Pretty, because I'm assuming you have to do your rounds and visit everybody and say hi to everybody. We've
been visiting people. People have been visiting us. But the main objective was to have my parents spend as much time as we can with the kids, even with me and my wife. So we kept it kind of low key. And then I also have work, I don't call it work. Right? I should call it work. Yeah, I call it work. I have some commissions to take care of, and so we have to make sure that gets done.
So while you're visiting here, you're painting?
Yeah, I'm painting. I had I did the most recent one of the Batman and Superman.
Yeah, I saw that.
I did that one.
So, by the way, throughout the podcast, I'm gonna go through your Instagram, when we edit it, and show your work and stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's pretty fucking awesome, man.
No, I appreciate it.
I love your range that you go from kind of like Mexican heritage stuff.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of your Fridas.
Yeah,
he owns
two.
Yeah,
he's a super collector, and like I said, I appreciate. Oh my God, he's like, look. Your family, my friend.
Yeah,
your family.
But then you do the Mega Man. Then you do the Messi stuff, the soccer stuff.
Yeah.
And then you do I saw you on Instagram doing the Superman Batman one, and I was like, my money, bro, my pockets are just like, what do I need for the studio?
I think it's just exactly. What do you need for the studio?
I was drunk and high one day, and I was like, you know what? This is all a white wall.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're going to drop them down, make me do a mural.
Yeah.
No, I think that the range it's been fun. It's allowed me to kind of express, who I am, right? Because I usually paint because I'm inspired by my current experiences, right? But sometimes I take it back. I take it back to my childhood. That's why. You know me pretty well. I'm a gamer. I'm into sports. I play sports growing up. Got a scholarship. Play college soccer. And
no way, really?
Yeah, that's where I started painting. I started painting in college. That's where my college career ended. Because I always wanted to be in high school. I always wanted to be a athlete. I wanted to be a professional soccer player. That was my thing. It's okay. No drinking, I didn't do anything. I was 100% focused, but I still ate like shit, it was like Carlos Jr. because that was never part of the requirements back then, it wasn't healthy. Because
you're burning all that shit anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was burning it all the time, but I played pretty competitive, and that was the whole thing. But I was drawing a lot. I was doing graffiti in high school. And
were you doing graffiti on your notebook, or were you doing it on buses and stuff like that?
No, I was a notebook guy, more a sketchbook guy. I was scared of just being caught on the streets. And
was one of your heroes Chaka?
He was not. Well, I mean,
remember Chaka?
Yeah, I remember Chaka. Because again, he went up and down the coast. He went, I think, to Arizona. He just kind of tagged all over the place.
Yeah, he didn't do murals. He just put Chaka, right?
He just put Chaka. Yeah. He just stamped his name all over, and then he ended up getting caught. And now I follow him on Instagram. I think he's selling his tags now, which is cool.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, he's selling his tags. So he's making money off of his work, and so it's been cool. There's a lot of graffiti artists that came up during my time. They're all doing pretty well in the art. In the art business, and so I never thought about going into the arts, being a fine artist, or being in sort of animation or anything, because I want to be a pro soccer player. But at the same time, I was like, I need some sort of backup plan. And this is when I'm gonna age myself right now. This is when computers were they started kind of doing graphics, so Photoshop 4.0 was out, right? Oh, yeah. And so I was like, ooh, what is this? And so I started my mom was working at UCLA, and she's like, hey, you know, you gotta kind of be off the streets, you know.
Yeah.
Here, you should go work at this at UCLA, working at NetSys. And so what we did was IT. So I learned how to build computers, you know, and this is back in the day. Again, I'm going to age myself. This is back in the day when installing Microsoft Windows 95 was like 25 disks.
Oh, the floppy disks?
Yeah, the small little disc. It's like that. So I learned how to build a computer, and I learned how to install Windows, and but it just wasn't my thing, you know. And I started to play with Photoshop, and I started playing with the filters, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I spent most of my days doing like 2 or 3 work orders, right? We get these work orders because we supported all of UCLA. And but I would only do like work orders of changing out like peripherals, you know, like keyboards and like monitors, because I didn't want to spend too much time with the
computer building,
with the computer building or anything. I wanted to get back to focus on downloading music from Napster and and playing with Photoshop. And so that was so I did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years until the point where they were like, hey, we see that you're not really focusing on being an IT guy. And I was like, I know. And they're like, well, you know, what do you want to do? And at this point, I think I was like 18, and I was going to go off to college, you know. And so I was like, well, you're right. You know, I think I'm going to part ways, and I'll figure out what else, you know, I needed to do. And so yeah, but that was my introduction to designing. And
just fucking around with Photoshop.
Yeah. And then I started just designing. I started cutting myself out and putting myself like on Campbell soups, you know, and just making these cool graphics and just using tons of filters, you know, just like random alien skin filters, you know, just like all over the place. And I really enjoyed it. And then,
mind you, was that kind of like your first introduction to that, or like did you used to draw like as a kid?
I used to draw a lot as a kid. So I'm gonna tell my cheesy story that got me into appreciating myself as an artist. My wife hates when I tell this story. And so in 3rd grade, there was this contest. It was like, okay, you draw school. The title of the contest was School Spirit, right? And you have to kind of draw something that, you know, that embodies school spirit. And the winner gets free pizza and tokens to play video games at Shakey's. And I was like,
bro, that is a motivator right there.
Man, that carrot was like, oh, it's right in front of you, just grab it, you know. And so I got to it, and I drew like a volleyball game. The scene, you know, I had like our team against some other team, and then I ended up winning. And I was like, oh wow. And so I got pizza, and I got tokens, and I was like, man, this is pretty cool, you know. And so yeah, that was definitely the motivator right there, pizza and video games. Right? So then I just went on from there. But I didn't take anything serious. I never took my art serious until maybe 3-4 years ago. That's when I started. When I just was like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. But again, it goes back to like you enjoy something so much, like you probably do with music. Like you enjoy it so much, you never really look at it as like work, right? You never look at it as, oh, I have to learn this song, or I have to learn this string in order for me to, you know, to grow and to make me a better musician, right? So the pressure is never on you. You just fuck around and you just get better because you don't care the path you take in whatever like medium you're working with, right? And so that's how I was just kind of drawing and again, didn't care. It was like a hobby, you know. And then I started working finally I graduated, you know. To make a long story short, I graduated from college. And then
hold on. What was cheesy about this story? Because my
motivator was fucking
pizza and
tokens and
arcade
pizza.
tokens?
Yeah, and arcade tokens. Yeah, she's like, don't tell anybody that story. It's so cheesy.
What is Rated talking about? That is a Hallmark movie,
right?
Like you win. I don't know if there's like artist awards,
I can't
whatever.
wait till she hears this because she's gonna be like, I can't believe you tell people.
Is there an equivalent of the Oscars before art? Because that should be in the speech, like, you know. Oh, first of all, you know, I want to thank my elementary school teacher here. Like, this is how it started. No, that's a great story. Raina's being a hater.
I know, she's being a hater. It's so funny. She's like, it's everything. She's like, oh, don't tell that story. I was like, that's how our career started. It's how I appreciated my artistic abilities.
I have a question though. Do you still feel that way now where like, you know how you were talking about like with music, like in songs, like you're just kind of like, it's not work, right?
Yeah. I think that's the hardest balance now.
Yeah. Because
right?
now you do commissions.
I do commissions. And so I mean, you know, as I explained earlier, you don't really have a lot of pressure on yourself to grow within your medium, because eventually you do grow at your own pace, right? There is people absolutely that they're like, okay, well, I have to learn this technique, and they, you know, focus on learning that technique, and then they grow, which is 100% fine. And it's like, you know, I wish I was that type of person, you know, but I'm just like super lax, and I'm enjoying the progress of this journey. I'm enjoying the fact that I do make mistakes, and I have to figure out how to fix them without like going on YouTube, right?
What do you mean going on YouTube?
Like, you know, sometimes there's a lot of tutorials on how to do certain things, you know, draw a head, or, you know, how to use different mediums, you know, how to use like different techniques, you know, to improve either effects of your painting. And I mean, there's just everything's on YouTube, you know, and so I'm enjoying the fact that around 98% of the time I'm like figuring things out myself. But then it does get to a point where I'm like, fuck, dude, I was like, it's not coming out the way that I wanted to come out, and so then I do go to YouTube. I'm like, hey, I was like, how do you do X, Y, Z? And then I'm sitting down watching like a 5-minute video.
Are you self-taught?
100% self-taught. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't go to art school. Actually, wrong. I did go to art school for about, I think I was like 4 or 5 months. My mom put me in Otis, which is out in West LA.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool.
It's a really good school. Yeah.
It's a really good school, and I've learned. I was there for about 4 months, and I still use the same. Like, I had this teacher, and when I was drawing, I started using an eraser because I was doing mistakes, and she was like, "Don't do that, don't do that." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Work around your mistakes. You know, it's fine. You know, you're trying to be perfect. You're trying to make this image perfect. Work around it. Figure it out. You know, the moment you grab your eraser, the moment you start erasing things, that's the part where you're starting to kind of focus on not your growth. We're starting to focus on like some like ideal perfection that or being judged by others, or having your art being judged by others. Like, no, just like focus on trying to figure out how to fix this issue that you created. You know, not because you're less skilled, or it's just because, you know, you're going through the process. Sometimes things don't turn out the way you hope for at that moment, but you work around and you figure it out. And at the end of the day, the image is 10 times better than what you originally visualized, and you've learned so much more in art, right? Just through that journey of that piece, you know. And that's how I take all my paintings now. You know, it's just like, I can't control Z, you know. I'm gonna have to like figure this shit out, you know. And so that's it. The thing that I can take away from being an artist and being a self-taught artist is making a lot of mistakes and figuring them out. You know, it's just like a musician. You know, you're tuning and you're figuring it out, and sometimes you couldn't figure out it's because maybe you just didn't tune the guitar in the beginning. You know, and then you tune it, you do it again, and it's like, oh shit, I forgot to tune my guitar. You know, you just kind of, you have like a list of things that you go by, and then you attack the real project. So yeah, it's just, I think the journey has been my favorite part about this. So
how did you or how long? I'm trying to see what I'm asking here. I guess how long did it take you to get the confidence, one, to do commissions, right? Because it's like, you know, you can paint all you want and like, you know, things that you like.
Yeah.
But at what point do you reach? At what point do you reach the time where you're just like, I can start charging people for this?
When you got to feed a family of 4. I think you just get to the point, like with me, that was it. You know, the contract was over with the gaming studio, and it was like, well, what are we gonna do? You know, it's like, let's go back home. I can probably find another design gig, and my wife stepped in and was like, dude, you always wanted to paint, and I was like, yeah.
Were you already kind of doing it on the side, or?
I've been doing it since, like I said, since college, but I didn't really start selling my work until I think 2011. I was unemployed, and
What was that you sold? What was the first one that you sold?
the first thing that I sold. Oh, that's the first thing that I sold at a show was a Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
That was my first show. Shout out to Chewy. You know, so he's the one that helped me do my first like group show. He's the one that purchased that piece. I think I showed 4 or 5 pieces. It was like a Mickey. It was a skull. Which had the same. It's so cool because the skull that I displayed on my first show had the same effect, which is like, you know, skulls like kind of coming out of the shadow.
Right.
Had the same effect as the skulls that I'm painting now. You know, so that's kind of cool that I kind of connected that.
The skulls that you did, like the collection, I think.
Yeah,
did,
the
like,
collection of 6. Yeah. Did that. What else did I do? I did the World Cup. I showed the World Cup.
The trophy one?
The trophy. And then it was like this Mexican mariachi piece. And so I think I did those 4. And yeah, the Mickey was first. It was like this Mickey drip, but it also painted I had Donald like on some, I think he was on, yeah, Donald was there too. And he was like painting Mickey. So it was pretty cool. So yeah, that was my first piece that I sold at a group show.
So at that point, were you like, okay, I can do this?
No.
Or there's a market for this?
Zero. No, it was kind of a side thing, like a hobby thing. It was cool to be part of a group show. It was cool to have that outlet. Because I would paint to take me away from like the digital world, right?
Okay.
Because it was like designing. So I was unemployed, but I was still kind of designing on the side. And you know, well, I mean, I don't know if you know, as a designer, you have restrictions, right? You're restricted to follow some sort of guidelines, right? And you have stakeholders, right?
Yeah. So like you I mean the thing that when I first met you, I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy, because you worked on the FIFA covers, right, for EA.
I worked not on the FIFA covers. I worked on a lot of like the mobile ads. Using the FIFA covers as like the base, right?
Okay.
So it'd be like Messi, you know, and that was super cool, right? Because I was working for EA, and they're like, "Here, this is the base of your projects," you know. And they're showing me like Madden, and they'll show me, you know, FIFA, and then they start showing me The Simpsons. This is when Simpsons app came out, right? I think it's 2012 or I don't remember what it is.
How did it feel like to see your stuff like on a mobile app?
You know what?
Knowing that, you know, however many people are going to play, how many people are going to see it.
It was cool, but it was also like a banner, you know? And so being a designer, like, and doing banners, that's kind of like the entry. That's like the entry to the design world. It's like you start doing these banners, right? And so it was cool seeing my stuff live, especially, but it was even cooler working on these projects, right? Working on like the Messi stuff, right? Because I was like, I'm so close to soccer, and like this is like, he's one of one of the big guys that I follow, you know, and so that was the happy part about it. It wasn't so I would go to work and I'll just be like happy and excited to work on these projects, and I didn't care how long I was there. I just kept on producing. It was super cool to do that, to do like the Maddens too, because I played Madden. So it was such a good time at EA, and then like that was like a year contract, and then like after that it was like, okay, well, what do we do now, you know, because I became unemployed, and so then I started kind of focusing on painting, because it took me away from, you got to find a job, you got to pay bills, you got to do X, Y, and Z, and all the stress that came with like the real world, right? And so when I was painting, I was just focusing on figuring out, you know, how to make this image, how to correct these errors, you know, and how to work with these mediums, because I really never really spent too much time working on acrylics, you know, and then I spent too much time like working on oils, and so and that's all I knew was just a base paint. It was just like, okay, here's, and you know, here, and for my first gallery show, I actually used, it was like elementary paint. It was like I went into like Blick, and
I was gonna say like that Rite Aid paint, or what?
It was like, I went to Blick, and we didn't have that much money, but I wanted to paint, and so my wife was like, oh, well, just get whatever paints you want to get. So I go to other paints, and paint is super expensive, right? For like the quality paint, you know. But we didn't have that much money, and so I saw these like these containers of just like paints. You know, it's like, oh, they're like, I don't know.
Yeah. How did you manage that? Because like, you know, like I know a lot of people that I feel potentially would be like really amazing artists, but the paywall that's there is kind of hard.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's again, it's just how much do you want to do it, right?
So you start prioritizing, like stop spending money on this, and then you do it for that.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I wish I would have bought, expensive paint, but again, it's just like, it was a hobby. It wasn't something that I was gonna take professional. You know, I was never looking to be a professional fine artist. Never.
Why is it so expensive?
The paint?
Yeah.
It's just the pigment, the quality in regards to like how bright the paint is. Sometimes, like the lower end paints has a lot of water in it, so you have to layer upon layer upon layer of paints just to get that depth of the image with acrylic, right? With oil, it's almost the same thing. It's just like, the better the paint, the brighter, the easier it is to control. And so when we ended up buying like this kindergarten paint, it was like these containers, which I still have until today. Because I never finished all of them. So Mati uses them every now and then, But after a year, I stopped using them, and I bought some better quality paints because I got a job, and I was like, I got a job at Riot, and so I started buying better paints.
By the way, since you were working at EA, it's a corporate environment. Did it start feeling like work at all?
Never.
Or were you still like?
Never. I was so happy to work on FIFA.
Do you think it's because you were working on a project of something you were passionate about?
Yeah, 100%. And because I was thrown into an environment that I've never thought about, right? Because as a designer, I always felt like I'm going to do brochures, I'm going to do logos, it's going to be so cool. And then I entered the field, and that's what I was doing. I was like, this is so lame. Like, why do I want to spend the rest of my life doing like this real estate agent brochures? This is no fun.
Were you doing that?
Yeah, or like menus. I was like, oh my God, this is going to kill me. But there's amazing people that do that, right? But like for me, I need things to like explode. I need things to move. I need things that are being like celebrated. Like I need to feel that with the image, right? I'm very passionate about my work. That's why you see splatter work all over the place, right? Because it's like a celebration. It's just like being loose, being free, just having a good time. I never wanted to be pigeonholed to do something because I had to do it, right? And so when I went to college, my sole purpose was always to do something fun for a living. I've never thought about, I should probably do X, Y, and Z because it makes good money, right? It was never that. It was like, okay, I have to do something with art because it's fun. I enjoy it. It's not that because I was good at it. No, it's just fun, right? I always want to do fun, creative things. Difficult, yes. But you're free, right? And so when I started doing EA projects, that's when everything just went crazy because I was like, oh man. And then my buddy who was like managing me, his name's Nick, he started kind of introducing me to like different methods of being a designer. He's like, you don't have to just do this. There's also this department and this department. I'm like, what, really? He's like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. That was super. So that even opened it up wider, right? And so at that point, I was like, okay, let's figure out what we want to do, right? But then the contract ended, and then I got into Riot, and then that's kind of where everything just went bonkers, and it was just fun because it was so fun. It's like the first years that I was at Riot, it was just like, be free, it's just like I said, it's a wild west.
Especially at the time that you joined, it was pretty much like, hey.
It was the beginning of the Latin America division, and we were just all hungry and willing to do like projects that we felt were going to be best for players, but we were very passionate about it, and so it was cool. And then,
so did you get it pretty much like kind of like a blank slate, like, hey, you do what you think?
Yeah, that's it. It's like, okay, well, here's the project, now you do you. And I'm just like, oh, all right. And it was funny because it was for Latin America division, right? And when I was being interviewed, actually before I was being interviewed, I was going through the third party, and they're like, all right, this Riot Games needs a English, Spanish speaker bilingual, and your resume says you're bilingual. And I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And they're like, okay. And in the back of my mind, I was like, holy shit. I was like, my Spanish is terrible. I was like, I only know like street soccer Spanish, you know. Hey, way, aquí, hey, pasa balón, hey, no way, hey, no mames, ven pa acá, hey, you know what I mean? And so, but I was like, I understand it.
Yeah,
I understand it. And then
are you originally from LA?
Or? I'm 100% from LA.
LA. Oh,
yeah,
what part of LA?
Well, I was born and raised in Inglewood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Up to no good.
Up to no good. But I spent most of my time in Santa Monica, Westwood area.
Oh, really?
Because my mom worked in
UCLA, right?
UCLA, and she didn't want us hanging out in Inglewood. So she got some sort of permit that allowed us to go to school in Santa Monica. So we me and my brother went to school in Santa Monica. After school, would go to her work.
She didn't want you to be a cholo?
She didn't want me to be a cholo. Yeah, it was dangerous. It's so funny. I just had this conversation. I feel it's just so funny. And you make sure that you control me because I go on these wild tangents.
No.
You know, I start connecting.
I love
like,
it.
It's funny because there's a lot of shit going on these days, right? A lot of like racial tension and
sure,
a lot of stuff going on. And I was like, oh man. I was like, when I was growing up, there's race wars all the time at school. Holy shit. I was like, they used to block out like streets because there's race wars, there's like fighting between, the African Americans and the Hispanics, and I was like, I was there. I was like, in like my middle school, we used to like have to run out of school real fast, because they're like, oh, you guys got to go because, at 3:00 there's going to be like, it's going to be a big fight. And so it's like, all right, what direction is it? All right, well, I'm going the other direction, And so,
dude, you know what's funny? So I went to Bellflower High.
Yeah.
And this was in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So, like the Rodney King riots and stuff. It was really funny because like throughout school, right? Like how you mentioned, like in Bellflower, there was always like this shit with like black people versus like Hispanic people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, like, dude, you got to go through the other exit because they're waiting outside. They're gonna jump any like Mexican person that's out there, right?
Yeah.
But it was so funny because like during the riots, there was that unity that they're like, for this, we'll unite. Where's the white person?
It was funny because I never really understood it because I had friends like ranging from everything, right? And because I was a sports guy, right? And so like I was that guy that would play during nutrition and during lunch and during fifth period, which is like the class after lunch, I would be like sweaty, and so that lasted for like 2 years in high school. And then after that, after my second year in high school, that's when I got like fully involved in like girls. I was like, oh man, dude, I can't be that smelly kid, So then I was just like, okay, I won't play as hard, but I was always that sports guy. I won't play as hard, yeah. So I was like always that sports guy, So I played tons of sports.
They didn't have showers at your high school?
They did, but you don't. I mean, what did you take extra clothes to shower after
that
lunch?
Was a weird time, right? Because how old are you?
41.
41. Okay, so we're pretty much the same age.
Yeah.
It's funny because like at the high school that I went to, we had the showers.
Yeah, I mean,
but
we all
absolutely nobody.
No, you don't do that.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Nah, you don't do that. Our showers were. I mean, I still remember this old blue tile. Almost turning green.
Because I was still from like the 50s. Or
yeah,
whatever, right?
Exactly that. Nobody used it. I mean, they used it. They would turn them on and wash off their dirty, like muddy uniforms.
Bro, they'd pick on you if you took a shower. Mind you, you're just trying to be clean.
Yeah, you're just trying to be clean. Yeah, no, you don't want to be that person that's taking a shower. And if we ever heard the shower running, we're like, what the fuck is going on over there?
But it's funny how that translates though to like when you're older. Because I don't know like how old you were when you the first time you ever went to a gym, or I'm not sure if you ever been to a gym.
Like what do you mean kind of gym? Like a workout
like
gym?
A gym, like
a 24?
Yeah, like a 24, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you're in the shower, you're like, oh shit, there's dicks out there.
Yeah, no,
and you're like, because you have the high school mentality.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let me put a towel on me and stuff.
That happened. I think shortly after I graduated high school, I went to go work out. Me and my buddy used to work out like at 2 a.m. at 24 Hour Fitness, because we're kids and we don't have anything else better to do, right? So we'd go work out.
Did you ever have a Bally's membership?
I did.
Bro, they're still trying to get me.
They're still trying to get you?
They're still trying.
Oh,
I'm like,
man.
It's been 20 years since you since I already went through collections.
I thought they went bankrupt and they're no longer here.
They are. They're somebody else owns them. But I'm like, what are you guys trying to, you're still trying to collect $300
I
from
had
me?
a Bally's. I had a 24-hour fitness. I had an Equinox. I never had an LA Fitness one.
You had Equinox.
I had an Equinox.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I had it for a
Get
little
out of
bit.
here.
I had it for a little bit, but I felt like too much.
Yeah, because it's like a club.
Well, it's
a
like you walk.
lounge.
Well, I walked in there and people were actually like exercising. You know, you walk in 24, people are like hanging out over. They're hanging around and floating around. And
I feel Equinox is for people that are already in shape.
it's either that or they don't want to get bothered by the dude or lady that's like, hey, can I jump in? Can
I
jump
see
in your
that a
set?
lot.
You know, and
Regardless.
Equinox, when I worked on Equinox, when I was going to when I was working out at Equinox, I never saw like, and I personally never felt somebody like tapping my shoulder like, hey bro, can I jump in my set? And it's like, no, it was never like that. But then what kind of pushed me over the edge was when like this.
I feel Equinox has like mimosas on deck.
Well, see, that's what kind of pushed me over the edge was like, there's the trainers. I don't even know they're trainers, but they work there and they walk around with.
I think it's just people that go there a lot and they're just trying to like. They're like, oh yeah, I'm like a regular. Like, yeah, let me help you out.
No, they would walk around with these like silver trays with these warm towels, hibiscus towels. And you'll be working out, and they're like, "Would you like a towel?" And I was like, "Oh, sure." And I'd grab one. And I'd kind of like wash my hands, and I was like, and my wife was like, "Oh, it's for your face." I was like, "What?"
Bro, that's why LA is so wild.
It's wild,
it's
right?
So wild because that shit does happen.
It does. I was just. I mean, I felt like I was in some kind of $1 million gym at that point.
Yeah.
You know. Like, then my wife was like, that's for your face.
Wait,
like,
when you go and refill your water bottle, you have like 4 choices. Like
you do
with like pH balance, electrolyte, mineral water. Like, what? Get out of here.
You do, and it's like,
dude. It's so funny because so my job, they give you a stipend for that, right? And so right across the street from my job was I'm not sure if it was in Equinox, David Barton.
Yeah,
like that. Which is another, it's another like boutique gym.
Okay.
And so I went over there. I'm like, all right, let me check it out. You know, we got this like 2-week trial. And so we go there and like the same thing that you were mentioning, like, you know, you get there and then like there's like receptionists and they give you like the hibiscus fucking towels and you know, all that shit. The shampoos are actually name brand shampoos.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
all fucking cool. And I was like, okay, well, with the stipend they give me, I'm gonna have to pay like $60 a month for this, right?
Yeah.
But the one that like would cover me fully is Elite Fitness.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So I'm like, you know what? Okay, cool. This is cool.
Okay.
I can get used to this.
Yeah.
Let me go check out Elite Fitness because, you know, paying $60 versus not paying for anything sounds a lot better. How bad can it be?
Yeah. How bad was it? Wait, did you end up doing the 2-week trial or no?
Oh, I did.
Were you there every day for 2 weeks?
Oh, I don't know about that.
How many people actually do like the full 2
That's
weeks?
their
Like they
scheme.
go every
That's their
single day.
scheme. That's their scheme.
Yeah. Oh, and Equinox was the first gym that introduced me to a juice bar. You know, I walked in. I was like, damn, this thing is. It's like, they want more of my money, or does this come with, you know, the membership? Because, you know, the membership is like, I don't know, like $1,000 a month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, and then you walk in and it's just like,
Bro, but the mistake I made was going to that gym first.
Equinox?
Oh yeah, or it was called David Martin, right? But that boutique gym first before I went to like LA Fitness, because when I went back to LA Fitness, I was like, bro, I feel like this is like disgusting. Everyone's a scrub here. Like that person's not like why are you even here? Like you know you're not gonna really lose that weight. Yeah. The fucking showers were disgusting. You had to bring your own like you had to bring your own shampoo.
Yeah.
Definitely no hibiscus fucking hot towels.
We had so in Mexico City we joined this gym. It's called,
Mexico City. So like hold on really quick before you go into the because Mexico City it's its own little subject. So just kind of like fast forward, you're working at Riot.
Yes.
And then an opportunity came to move to Mexico City to work with the Latin American office.
Yeah.
Right?
So, you know, we ended up moving, right? Riot got relocated from like the Colorado Center to this fucking wonderland that it's at now in Santa Monica. And there, Riot, from my understanding, was like, okay, LATAM, and you guys have to be closer to the players, which makes sense, right? Yeah. With the current guys you have now, a lot of the guys actually were from like Argentina. You know, we had some guys from
Argentina, Chile, Colombia, like
everything.
Mexico, yeah.
So everything was like South America. So it was okay for them to move, to like Santiago or Mexico City.
By the way, you know what was really cool for me? Because like when I first started, right? I forgot. I had to go help somebody out. Yeah. They're like, oh, they're in the LATAM office. And they're like, oh, what is it? Oh, it's in the same building, but just like floor, like the first floor or something like that.
Wait, was this the Colorado Center?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I got stories from that place too.
And like, it was just so weird. Like, you just open the door.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh,
it's
yeah.
Like a party. It's a party. Yeah, it's a party.
What?
It's a party.
Like,
yeah.
I'm hearing Peruvian accents. I'm hearing fucking Chilean accents. I'm hearing Mexican accents.
Oh.
What is this place?
Oh, man. So, wait, so that goes back to like how.
But it felt cool to be able to speak Spanish.
But that's cool. Yeah. So that goes back to when I got hired, right? When I was going through the interviews, the interview process, they're like, all right, do you know Spanish? It's like, oh yeah, absolutely. And they're like, okay, can you read it? And I was like, oh yeah. And they're like, can you correct it? And I was like, not 100%, but like if something feels a little off, you know, I will question it, you know. But in the back of my mind, I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But this was a very, very
fake
crucial.
it till you make it.
Yeah, but this was very, like, I tell this story because I want people to understand that this is how you make things happen, right? You never know until like you try it, and you never know what you're capable of until you put yourself out there, right? And so
stuff we were talking about before.
Right. And so I didn't have to go to this interview. I knew that it was for Latin America, and I knew that they spoke Spanish. Like the majority of them spoke Spanish, and my Spanish was like terrible.
And it's Southern American Spanish,
and
a lot of it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I just knew it was like Latin America. And so, and I never played the game. I played the game nonstop for 2 weeks before my interview, right? Because again, I didn't have to do it. And I didn't know the game. And they're like, you got an interview in 2 weeks? I was like, okay. How you play the game? Yeah. I was like,
well, back then that was a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was a big deal to play the game, right?
Yeah.
And so they had asked me how you play the game. And I was like, and I've heard of the game because I'm a gamer. I heard of the game. And have I downloaded it? No. I read about it a little bit. But so I kind of knew like the base. I never played it. I didn't know any of the mechanics. I didn't know any of the champions. I didn't know anything.
You know what's so funny? Because when I got hired, I went through the same thing. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, League of Legends. And then my PTSD came back because some of my friends played it. Yeah. Right. And they're like, come on, play it. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Let's fucking play this game.
Yeah.
And dude, I was like, what the fuck is this? Why are people such assholes? Like talking all this shit. And then like even my own friends are like, just don't die, okay? Da, da, da. So when they're like, have you played it? Like, do you know League of Legends? I'm like, yeah, I do know League of Legends.
I do. Yeah. It was cool. It was a really cool experience. Like playing it nonstop for 2 weeks and knowing that at the end of the day, I either will get the job or I won't, right? The idea of not getting the job was never even like there, right? Like I didn't think about like, oh, you're not gonna get that job.
When did you develop this kind of confidence?
I don't think it's confidence. I think it's just understanding that in order for me to grow, like I know myself well enough that in order for me to grow as an individual, I have to put myself in situations that I don't know. And I had to figure it out, but I know I will figure it out.
Because most people are scared of those situations, including me.
Right. I think that's the thing that people have to understand. It's I don't think it's like the routine and the comfort, right? Like the bubble. It's like, oh, I'm comfortable here. I'm making maybe enough money to live wherever I need to live. Like it's cool. Like it's fine, and it's fine. It's there's nothing absolutely wrong with it, right? But for myself, it's nice. But I got to a point where I needed to grow, and so that's the reason why I took the opportunity that was given to me to move to Mexico City. I was originally supposed to go to Santiago, Chile, and I had already I had to ask my wife. I was like, "Yo, what do you think? Mexico City, Santiago? You know, we know Mexico. We have family in Mexico. We didn't know we had family in Mexico City. It was just like Mexico."
By the way, and I just think that's so crazy because it's like one. Like you were mentioning, like, hey, like I don't speak the language, especially like in like moving to Mexico City.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Right.
Two, you're not from there. You're from Linwood?
No, Inglewood.
You're from Inglewood. You're from Inglewood, and it's like, okay, now we're just, and then you have you know you have a wife. Was she pregnant at that time?
Well, see, that's what happened. Like, we were gonna go to Santiago, and then we got pregnant, and so they're like, no, just go ahead and have the kid. You can work from home, and then when the baby is 10 months, then you're gonna have to depart. And so when she was pregnant, it was cool. We're still thinking about. We're in negotiations with Santiago already. I was going through the whole thing with management,
location, and like all that stuff.
No, just like talking to just like trying to negotiate, my move out there.
By the way, do they help you? Like, oh, hey, this is the neighborhood you should live in.
Yeah,
like,
no, they do.
Kind of stuff? Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, how did you find something then?
So we had literally gone online and found a place already that were like, oh, this is kind of cool. But we're in LA and it's in Mexico City, and you know how you usually have to go and walk through the place and see the neighborhood and again, yeah, we did drop the pin in Google and we walked around the neighborhood through the pin, but still it's like, I don't know this place, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a good place to live. They didn't give us any pointers. They're just like, Riot's here, and then some of the people at Riot that were expats and they're transferring from Central, they're like, yeah.
Were you like, hey, where do you live at?
Yeah, no, that's what I was doing. I was like, hey, where do you live? How close do you live to Riot? And they're like, oh, like, walking distance, 10, 15 minutes. And then there's others that drove in, that took a metro. And that was just like, oh, man, we got to figure out. Like, we have to live within, like, walking distance to my family and work. And so that we just walked the neighborhood for about 2-3 weeks straight. And we found some places. We went in there, we like talked and we walked through, and it was, again, you have a checklist, right, of like things that you want, and a lot of them were just like.
But what were some of that stuff? Some
of the checklist was like, okay, walking distance to work, right? A big enough area that Mateo can like crawl. Mateo's a baby, can crawl, right? Be safe, a safe area. They allow dogs because there's a lot of owners that don't like dogs or don't want dogs in. Mm-hmm. A place that our dog Layla was able to kind of like a bigger patio or balcony, right? And so we had all these checklists, and we didn't find anything. We found really old apartments of course we had like a budget too, right? We found old apartments that fit our budget, that fit the checklist, but they're so old that you're gonna deal with like old plumbing issues, old electrical issues, and
hot water going away,
all that stuff, right? And I can't have. Just for peace of mind, I can't have my wife at home without hot water, or my wife at home without electricity. Just like I need to set her up. Well, because it's like she has no husband. Well, because you have to be able to, like, she's taking this event. She's the one that's taking like a higher jump, she's right? Like, hey, it's all for me. So I got to make sure that she's as comfortable as possible, and so I was like, okay, this is the stuff that needs to happen. And so we ended up finding, so that home that we found in LA, we walked through it in Mexico City, and we're like, this is actually it was modern. It wasn't that big. It was like a 2-bedroom with a small balcony, but it was nice. And then, so we're like, okay, we've looked for like 3 weeks. We have 2 more weeks on the Airbnb, but we want to just like leave, and okay, let's go ahead and put a bid on it. And then, we did, and we got it. And we told them, was like, all right, our co-signer is going to be, my company, Riot Games. And they're like, oh, we don't take that.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, oh, we don't take your job as your fiador. And we're like, oh, what's gonna happen now? And then so I spoke to my mom, and because she has friends there in Mexico City, and one of her best friends was like kind enough to help us like co-sign. And so that's how we got in. And
no way.
And so that was pretty cool. And I remember the first night we got like the uncontrollable giggles, It's like, I can't believe it. Like, we have our own place in Mexico City,
Dude, I think it's so funny because it's like, I feel like a lot of Mexico works like that, where, you're like, oh yeah, you need to have this thing. Okay, your company does it.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we won't. There's no like, oh, hold on, let me talk to the Better Business Bureau of Renters or something.
No such thing. Not in Mexico City. Like, not in Mexico City. Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. So it's just a funny story because we ended up jumping in, and we had these uncontrollable giggles. It was so fun. and everything was still in boxes except for our bed. My third room was all set up, you know. I was like, because once we moved in, we were like, okay, let's set this up. Let's set Mateo's like room up. Like that was number one priority, you know. And so we did that. And then
you're such a good family dude, man.
Oh, that's number one. It's always God and family, and
Yeah.
I think that's what's like helping us grow and push forward with everything.
Yeah.
Because that's my priority is always that. It's always like, you know, God and family, like 100%. You know, and it's from my mom. My mom has always been a big family person. You know, it's like sometimes when we were younger and we disputed like amongst each other, like me, my sister, and my brother. You know, we didn't do the whole like no talk treatment. You know,
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna talk to you for like a week or two. You know, it was, my mom was like, no, you guys gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
You know, and so that, and it built like a strong family foundation. We used to eat together all the time. You know,
Yeah.
It was never like in front of the TV. The TV was on in the background, like in the living room. This is back in the days where every room was sectioned off.
Yeah.
Right? Because now you have like, oh, open concept. You know, your house is a box. So we had it. Our kitchen was like our kitchen was its own separate room, and the background was always a soccer game.
Yeah.
You know, always a soccer game, and then we'd be eating, and then you hear a go, and my dad would get up, and then I would get up, my brother would get up. We like watch the you know, the instant replay, and then we're like talking about the goal like all the way back, like the positives and negatives. I can't believe this guy did this, or sometimes it was an amazing goal. I was like, que pinche golazo that was, huh? God damn. And so, but it built a strong like family, you know, base, and I think for me that has always been like strong, you know, and like my wife comes from like a different background, you know, and for her to see
Not
that,
so close knit.
not so close knit, and for her to see that, she 100% appreciates, and that's like her number one thing too. It's like family, always family, always family, and so that's why it's when we entered this whole journey of, you know, doing the art, my art. I asked her, I was like, hey, I can't do this without you. You know, you're gonna have to like drop some things to like focus on Eflo, and she was like, okay, and yeah, she ended up just like taking on like all the logistical works. And
How did that come about? Because like, I mean, just from the story that you were telling me, sorry, it seemed like the transition to Mexico City was not easy. So it's
easy.
very easy for it to leave what is a sour taste in your mouth or whatever.
Well, that's what happened. I mean, once I got
So at what point were you guys just not like, you know what, maybe this was not the right decision, let's go back to fucking LA?
like literally 2 minutes after they said it's over.
Yeah.
Like I walked out. I was so.
Oh, that's right, because a whole bunch of people got laid off, right?
Got laid off. Yeah.
How long were you living in Mexico City before you got laid off?
I got laid off in April, and I remember I got laid off in the last week of March. And the only reason why I know that was because my parents were coming in to celebrate my kid's first birthday.
So it wasn't even that long.
Oh, it was my first birthday.
Because you said Mateo was 10. 10 months.
No, it was Mateo's not first birthday. Mateo's baptism.
Okay.
It was his, and we were doing it at the Basilica. So I had all these plans ready to go. My parents were gonna come in. You know, my friend, which is Mateo's godfather, he was coming in too. I said everybody's coming in, and it was gonna be a great time. I got all these things planned, and then I get like, you know, you get an email. I was like, hey, I need you here at 8 a.m. It's like 8 a.m. I was like, we don't start till 10.
Yeah, we start till
10.
10.
You know, and then I walk in there. Everybody's like, I walk in there with like, you know, crusty eyes and just like, what's going on? Everybody's there. And I was like, holy shit. And so I was walking home and I told my wife, I was like, this is not happening as I was going back home. And she was like, no, whoa. She's like, I think you're just like working off emotions right now.
Really?
Let's just settle down. Let's like talk about, let's just go through the whole thing with celebrating Mateo and your family here. And then once everything's kind of done, we'll talk about like the next steps, you know? And I was like, okay. Because it was going to be.
Really? She like, huh.
Well, because at this point she had entered this thing called IWC, which is an International Women's Club, and she found amazing friends, and she still has amazing friends to this day from the club. And so she got to do all these outings, and she got to experience like new restaurants.
So she now had a life there.
She had a life there. She had friends.
Okay, cool.
And all of these friends had like stories, right? Because everybody has a story. Everybody came.
Were
from
they the
somewhere.
girls that I met at your art show?
Everybody that you met at the art show.
Oh, okay.
Like I would say, how many of them? I would say like a quarter of them. I think were there when Reina started making friends. I think it was a quarter. Like that. I can't pinpoint, but yeah, some of the girls that were there, some of the wives and husbands that were there, they've been there since day one, and so yeah, so we ended up like
were you kind of thrown back by that? Like, wait,
I was because I never really thought that she was gonna be like, stop, it's okay.
Because like I feel like part of me would be like, no, that's cool that you have new friends and stuff and you're going to restaurants, but like, hey, I don't have a job here, and if I don't got a job here, we ain't shit here,
I think that's what happened. That's why she was like, let's just kind of talk about it after because like like everything was over.
I feel like it'd be really scary to be like, okay, well, because Riot, it's the culture, they can help you out, but now like you're gonna have to try to look for a job yourself.
Everything myself, right?
You don't know the language very well like that.
Yeah.
Like in as far as like business goes and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I wasn't really motivated to find a job in Mexico City. Like it had nothing to do with the money. It had nothing to do with anything. I think it was because I was just so bitter, But even like the interview process, like I didn't want to go through that again. The whole like updating your resume.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go through any of that again. I was just like, I'm tired. I don't want to do it. If I have to do that, I'll do it in LA. I'm not going to do it because I have to translate everything or else work for an American company that I have to kind of, because now so the tunnel gets a little thinner, right? Because it's like, okay, now
you have to work for Google, Apple.
Yeah, right. I have like a handful of companies that I got to focus on, and which I probably would have got a job because Riot was really well known, and Riot is just like this big, massive like gaming company, a studio, right? And so everybody that comes out of there or everybody that works there is amazing, I have nothing but like positive things from Riot. Like,
they only hire the best.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Only the best. Spend whatever. Well, back then it was like spend whatever to bring in the best, and so. But yeah, like I said, I have to this day I still get projects from Riot.
Yeah.
And,
I always have to reactiv't your account like
you
every
do,
fucking
you
3
do.
months, bro.
I'm like pinging you. I feel like I have like an insider. You know, like they're like, oh, okay, we go message IT and see what goes on. I was like, I'm texting them right now.
All right, let's take a little break.
Okay,
I have to take a little bathroom break.
Yeah, same here.
Same here. Too.
I did too.
I feel that little ding is the equivalent of the fucking iPhone fucking for fucking Mexico. Like you'll be like at a restaurant in Mexico City and hear that ding from What's Up, and everybody's like, oh,
everybody's like, well, what's up? That. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about What's Up until I got to Mexico.
Yeah.
And that just changed the game. So I was having this conversation with my wife, and I was like, you know what's so funny? It's that nobody really like texts individuals anymore. Like that's not a thing. People still do, but it's not the thing to do. The thing to do is have
in Mexico.
No, in general, the thing to do is have group chats.
Oh,
all your friends. So you feel like you're involved. But it's never like, how you and I like text like randomly, like I don't know, like once every quarter or whatever, or whenever I need you to like activate me. But it's like, I'm in like 3 or 4 like group chats with like friends, and sometimes it's not directed towards you. It's just like a general topic. It's like,
it just seems like it's to share memes. I feel
share memes, to share photos of kids, to have jokes. But it's always group chats. It's like group chats. It's a thing. If you're not part of like some chat, then you feel like it's like, oh, what happened? What's going on? But
I feel what that does, at least for me, because you know how iPhone has that whole pin thing. Do you have an iPhone or?
Yeah, I have an iPhone.
And how you can pin your conversations, your group chats.
What do you mean?
You can pin them, so you have like your group chats, and like you can rename them.
Right. Okay, yeah. It's because I'm never the admin to these chats, so I don't know anything.
But my thing is that like because of that shit, my phone is permanently on silent.
Yeah. Well, so that was part of the conversation. It's like, who has a ringer on? I remember having my ringer on when I had a cool ringtone.
Remember we can buy them?
Yeah, that was the thing.
And you're like, oh, Eflo's calling highway to the danger zone.
Okay, so how did it start? It started off with regular ringtones, and then it started off with actual like ringtones from like video games or just small little ringtones, and then music came.
Yeah.
So once music came, that's when you started kind of identifying people who they really are, right? Because, some people put their music on because they thought it was cool, or.
Could you imagine just like chilling with your girlfriend or wife, and you're like, it's a Friday night, and she wants to stay in, and she's like, oh, and you're like, oh, like, yeah, my friends, they kind of want to go out. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then you get the phone call, and the ringer is like, turn down for what? And you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna hang out at a friend's house.
Yeah.
Not if I hear that ringtone.
No, exactly, right. Yeah, those are the days. Ringtones were so cool. I remember just like changing my music. No, I had like 2 or 3 songs during that
but now
period.
I don't want to hear my phone.
No,
Especially like
I don't.
Since now like phones are tied with work.
Yeah.
Dude, my phone goes off like.
Yeah, low key, I do get disappointed when you don't respond within an hour. I'm just like, God damn, I gotta figure this out myself.
You've left me on red for days. Shut up.
I know. Yeah. I am the worst. I know. I am the worst.
But dude, so going back to what we were talking about, so you get laid off. I get laid off. You're just like you're like fucking. Let's go back to LA.
100%.
Your wife is like,
100%.
hold on. Let's kind of like let's stay here for a little bit to like do. Your son's birthday or baptism.
Yeah, he's being baptized at the Basilica. You know what the Basilica is?
The one in the Centro or
Nah, it's the one in the Centro, but that's the one where Juan Diego, he like show the roses, and then there's a picture of the Virgen de Guadalupe in his clothing. So that was it. It's like this. It's like,
bro, you don't want to get me started on that shit, bro.
Oh, I don't. But the overall, the idea of it is very beautiful, and so we had our kid baptized there. And let me tell you a quick story about that. It's funny because we get there and we're all dressed, right?
Hold on. Okay, yeah.
Everybody, we're all dressed, and then we get there early in the morning. I think it was like 9 or 10. I forgot how it was. And the line is huge. Like, think about the newest, baddest ride at Disneyland just opened, and you want to get on that ride, and so does everybody else in California. And that line is literally like, and there's no fast pass, And so you get there and you're just like, wow, this is the longest line in the fucking world. And you're like, half of the line is. No, 3/4 of the line is in the sun. And everybody has makeup. Everybody's dressed really well. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to happen. Dude. And we had already, like, it's going to be there. And then my dad's like, hold on. And he goes to the front of the line. There's, like, this usher guy kind of ushering people in, right? Mm-hmm. And my dad's like, hey. Let me talk to you. And he's, like, trying to give him money, so we can, like, walk in.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, no, it's cool. Like, we don't take any money. And we're like, what do you mean? We're like in Mexico. Like, everybody takes money. And so
facts.
It was because my dad's from Mexico. My dad's from Guadalajara, so he knows how things work,
Yeah.
And so
tienes que dar la mordida.
Yeah. He's like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Yeah. And no, the guy didn't take the money. He was like, no, very stern. He's like, no. So
really?
Yeah, he's stern. And then like within like probably like 20 minutes of waiting there, and then my dad waiting in the front. He was like, hey, just come on, get your kid in here. And it's like, oh, cool. So yeah, we just kind of, he just ushered it. He let us like, he let us walk in without any sort of payment, and we just kind of walked in and got everything done. But that that was quite the experience too. Like, bravo to my dad for like having the cojones to, to like talk to the guy. So.
Yeah. So like what, for like people that don't know, why the Basilica is, like really important and really special.
Yes.
Is, the Virgen de Guadalupe, which is, it is so, tied to Mexican culture.
Yeah.
The Virgen de Guadalupe.
Yeah.
And like, people here will probably know it because, it's probably in tattoos. It's like on, it's like the Virgin Mary, but with a green outfit.
Yeah.
And the way, what was his name? Did you say
Juan Diego. Yeah.
So the way that the story goes is, Juan Diego was, working in the fields, right?
Yeah.
When he had an apparition through with the Virgen de Guadalupe, and he was taken aback, and what's the best word to describe it? She basically said, like, hey, like, because there was a struggle about Catholicism, and like, the indigenous beliefs and stuff like that, because a lot of the indigenous people didn't feel like this was real. And so, he had an apparition from her, and she's like, no, letting them know I'm real.
Yeah.
Right. And so he goes back to, with his people, and they're like, no, I met her. She came out. She said, this is real.
Right.
Like, she's real. And they kind of just like kind of scoffed at it.
Yeah.
They're like, nah, get out of here. You're crazy. Right. And then, so he goes back up one day, to the hills, and she appears to him again. And he's like, hey,
they don't believe me.
They're not buying this shit.
Yeah.
And she says, listen, pluck these roses.
Yeah.
Put them in your,
I don't know what they call it.
Was it a sarape?
We'll just say sarape because that kind of like.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it's called, but again, like he was very poor, so he had like maybe a sarape.
Yeah.
We'll just say sarape. Sarape sounds good.
Yeah. So they're like, put this in it, like carry these roses to them. Right. And so he puts all these roses. He carries it with him. He's going down.
Yeah.
He finally reaches the rest of his people and is like, hey, she appeared again, and they're like, get out of here, man. You're crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, no. She told me to give you these roses.
Yeah.
And the way the story goes is that he pulled down his sarape.
Yeah.
And instead of the roses falling, her image was on the sarape, which is what supposedly is at the Basilica.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought the roses were still there, and as he dropped them, the roses fell, and like she appeared on his like clothes.
Okay, that could be true.
Yeah, I mean, you probably. Yeah.
I've seen movies.
Yeah. I was like, oh, whoa, he's going kind of deep. He's he's further than I am in this subject.
And the thing is that the people were just kind of like, hey, like, she looks like us. She's brown. You know what I mean? It's like she has like our colors and stuff like that. So it's a very beautiful story. And then like after that, like Mexican people got. That's when Catholicism with Mexican people was really born and stuff like that. But it's so cool to be able to go to places like that. I mean, you go to Mexico City and you go to the churches, bro. Oh my God.
So beautiful. It's so beautiful. We went the first time we went to the Basilica. It was pretty cool. Me and my wife spent some time. We went. There's like I don't know how many churches. There's like 4 or 5 churches on the premises. You just kind of go from the biggest one. They're holding church, holding mass, and we just kind of sat there and we stayed in the back and we're like, this is amazing. Like the feeling that you get, it's just like this overwhelming power, that you just like, I feel like I'm a part of history now. I don't know how long this has been here, but my whole life I've been told about Mary. I've been told about Jesus, right? I went to a Catholic school. I was from kinder till 6th grade.
Did you do catechism? You do all that?
I did everything. Confirmation. I did everything. I was an altar boy.
Yeah, me too.
I was only an altar boy to go to Knott's Berry Farm, though.
This guy.
There's the carrot. I was like, okay, you gotta do 3 masses and then you're eligible to go to Knott's Berry Farm. And I was like, okay. And it was like the last 3 masses. Like, I'm in.
You know what's so weird for me is, so I'm from, I was born in Puebla.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, down the street.
Yeah, down the street from you. Right?
It's beautiful. Oh, man.
And have you been to the Zócalo and stuff?
I'm pretty sure I have. We went there.
Have you been to the church?
Yeah. The ones on top of the hill. Are you talking about the one? No. Are you talking? Because in Puebla, there's like churches in every corner.
Yeah, the one in downtown.
Probably. We've been there twice. The first time we just kind of.
Dude, next time we go, we gotta go together.
Yeah, we'll go.
I have family there. Like,
I hope. I hope you come sooner than later.
Yeah, and so I was, like how you mentioned, there's so many churches there, right? And every church, like the Spanish were there, so that's why all these like have gold and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, growing up, I was raised with these crazy ass churches, these Gothic structures.
Wait, so how old were you when you were
11?
You were 11.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
But then I come here to the U.S.
Yeah,
and their churches are just like tan, brown. They don't even got a cool Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't got, because like that's the one thing, like being a little kid and you go to church and you're like, Jesus looks crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like,
well, Mass has changed. Mass has changed. And I totally understand what you're saying. There's so much, I think because there's so much history that Mexicans don't want to touch anything, right? So they'll repaint it, they'll repatch it,
thank goodness.
They'll do all that because they love the authenticness of it, right?
Yeah, and you know what's funny? So I actually, I was raised Catholic and all that, but kind of like in my teenage years, I was just kind of like, this is all BS, all this and all that and all this, right? Yeah. I was very cynical about the whole thing.
Yeah. I think we all go through that stage. If we don't practice it, like we're supposed to practice it, I think we all go through that stage. I went through that stage. Yeah,
and so I remember this is years ago, but I went to it was the first communion. It was the first communion for one of my cousins.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're like, okay, you got to dress up, you got to do this, you got to do that.
Of course.
You got to go to it.
Got to look good for Jesus.
Mind you, I'm like, again, cynical about all this whole stuff, right? But, when I sat down there and I saw like all the traditions, the customs, the fact that like afterwards our whole family was going to go back home. We were going to have dinner and stuff. Yeah. I was like, you know what? I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And but what did you get?
I got the importance of it. I got the importance of all these traditions.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Because in the end, like, I feel that, like the teachings and stuff like that, whether you believe that there's Jesus out there on a cloud or whatever like that. Right. When you listen to the teachings, and the family aspect of stuff, I'm like, oh, there's definitely there's so much value in that stuff.
Right. And I think you're right. I mean, the way I went through the same stage as you, right? I looked at it, and we would go every Sunday, right? Every Sunday for years until I started playing competitive soccer, and then that's when my mom was like, "Oh, we can't go to mass anymore because you have tournaments every weekend." Anywho, I remember this point in my life when I was sitting in the church. I was sitting in the during the mass, and I was like, "Oh man, it's like the same thing over and over again, right?" Of course, there is a section where the priest like just talks like for like 20 minutes about something new that you should do within your life or like what important topic, right? And he's like trying to teach you a lesson.
Yeah, so they basically get like an excerpt from the Bible. They talk about and they read it, right? And then they talk about how like you can put that into your own life,
right? And so, but for me, that was too deep. I would use that as a time slot. I was like, okay, what's next is the bread, right? And you just get the bread. And I was like, after that, then he's gonna talk to us for about like 5 more minutes, and then we're out and we're getting champurrado.
When you do the Our Father,
yeah,
you're like, it's almost over. It's almost over.
Oh my god, yeah.
And then you get champurrado and churros.
Outside.
Yes.
Oh man, that was like my favorite part. But hey, so I started thinking to myself, right? I don't know how young I was, but I was going to church, so I must have been like, I don't know, 7, 8, I don't know, in one of those times, because I started playing competitive soccer at 9, so I was pretty young. I thought to myself, I was like, okay, to be a good person, which was I was kind of like taught or suggested or recommended when I was going through Catholic school, was you got to go to church every Sunday, and then you have to, at some point, you have to go to confession. Oof. And so I would go to confession, and they'd be like, okay, you know, what do you confess? And I was like, well, I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, I'm actually a pretty good kid, and so I would make things up, you know. And it was like, well, you know, I talked bad to my mom, well, I cussed, and I couldn't think of anything else, right? And so like, okay, well, 10 Our Fathers, and then you're good, right? So I was like, this is a lot of work to be good, you know. It's like, but like, who says that you gotta go to church every Sunday to be good? I was like, I can be a serial killer and go to church every Sunday. That doesn't make me a good person.
Yeah.
And so I was like, as long as I have good morals and good intentions, and I want to help the world some way or other, or help my neighbor, then I'm a good person. I don't need to be like here every Sunday. And so at that point, I was like, I appreciate God, religion, 100%. Am I going to practice it to the point where I'm gonna have to be here every Sunday because it's like an approval that you're a good person? I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And that's how I've been living my life.
Is that you now?
I've been living my life since that point.
You don't think there's you don't think that there's value in making that commitment?
There is. We still go for like Ash Wednesday. Like we still go to mass. But it's not as consistent as it used to be, right? It's not every Sunday. It's maybe like once or twice a year, because there is times where you got to have that connection. You know, it does feel good to go into mass and, you know, pray for everything that we have, appreciate, be grateful for everything that we have. You know, yeah, you do have to have that connection. Like I pray, me and my kid, we pray every single night. Like that's the thing, we pray every single night because I'm so grateful of my life.
Yeah.
That I have to make sure that my kid understands that you need to be grateful for everything that you have.
Yeah, you know, I'm very cynical as fuck, you know, and so like a lot of that stuff, I'm just like, okay, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But like as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Where, let's say I go to a friend's house,
yeah,
you know, and they do grace, you know.
Yeah.
And take the God side out of it, right, or the Jesus side out of it.
Right.
I think there's definitely value in taking a couple minutes, to say that you're thankful for this food.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I see that. Now I see like there's value in that.
I think for me, having the religious background that I did, going through Catholic school, it just kind of was a nice base, right? And then you just kind of take whatever you want from that base,
right?
And so I took that part, right? And I mean, I see where you're coming from, where like, you know, there's people that didn't grow up with knowing anything about religion, right? But they're grateful for what they have, you know. And they can say that. They can be like, I'm grateful for what I have, you know, for whoever you believe in. If you do have belief. If you don't, then it's fine. You don't have to be. Like everybody is completely different, right? It's like they say, like every kid is different. Right?
Yeah. Plus, this life is short, man. You know,
life is short.
So get through it the best way you can.
And I think that's 100% true. You know, and like, you know, we're talking about time when we wouldn't know. We forgot to push record. You know how I appreciate your time, you know, that you spend, you know, with me, or we spend with you. And it's about time. You know, how much time do you spend with, you know, with your child, or how much time do you spend with, you know, with your spouse or whatever.
When you think about
time.
it, well, like when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Just think about doing this podcast, right? However long you're here on this podcast, it's time away from your family.
It is.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
And so the fact that you're willing to make that time to do that, to be away from your family, That's a big deal, man.
Yeah, but at the same time, your family. You know, you've supported my journey, my adventure. You've introduced me to public speaking. You know, when like you had me
that
go,
was fun.
when you had me go and speak in front of your high school,
yeah.
right? Like people that supported me, regardless if you've like purchased some of my artwork, just support me in any way, you've done something that made me feel like, dude, this guy cares for me for more than like getting something out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have to like pat my back and I'll pat yours. It's just like, no, like he's a good dude, and I feel like he's adds value to talking in front of these kids, you know, because of his story or whoever. So I've always felt like that to you. So whenever I do go out with with like people out like in Mexico City, it's always friends. It's friends and family, you know, and most of the time it's family because they're supporting me. They're supporting this adventure.
I have so many questions for you.
Okay.
Number one, so seeing how like you kind of came from like a graffiti background,
Yeah.
how did you go into what I call fine art? Because here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot of artist friends.
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, watch
out!
Watch out.
But here's
let me ask, just straighten up so I give you the right answers.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. It's like, okay, like modern art, right?
Yeah.
I look at it and like, I don't want to have to be on mushrooms to like feel something to like get it, you know, and stuff like that.
Right.
But at least for me, like when I saw your stuff, I was like, oh no, like this is the real deal.
Yeah.
Like this is like, I mean, I'm just looking at the Frida like behind you, right? This is my first thing I bought from you.
Yeah, that was a cool story too, by the way.
But it's like, I'm like, just like he put so much work on the cheeks, the eyes, like
everything.
Here's the thing, right? Anybody that sees this or the other Frida I have, they're like, it's beautiful.
Right.
They're like, it's beautiful.
That's amazing.
And so
that's great to hear. Thank you.
You know, as opposed to like, you know, when you have stuff like you have like modern art where it's just like splashes of art and stuff like that. And then you kind of take, you know, it's like if it speaks to you or whatnot.
Exactly.
And it's, and I get that too. There's no,
right. There's no wrong or right.
There's no wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like whatever like speaks to you, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I didn't want that. I wanted something that like was beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like knowing that you have a graffiti background.
Yeah.
Why did you go that route as opposed to doing like a Banksy type stuff or doing like some?
I think it's all in like for. I mean, you can't really see. Oh, can you see? You can see the Frida.
Oh
right?
yeah. You can
so
see
like, let's take for instance this Frida, right? I think the base of my art has to do a lot with graffitis, being very loose.
Oh really?
Being very loose but controlled, right? Like if you see her flowers from up close, it just looks like a bunch of paint all over the place. But then you pull back and you're like, oh, those are flowers. It's cool, right? It doesn't have to be detailed. As long as you know that they're flowers and it's not to a point where it's very distracting, it's more supporting, then it's good, right? And I understand what you're saying. For me, my work, I want people to like look at it and automatically feel something, right? I don't want to have to like pull teeth for you to feel something. I don't want to. And that's just me as an artist. That's me personally. It has nothing to do with another artist. Like I'm not speaking for any other artists because there's a bunch
I'm
of beautiful
so mad
artists.
I didn't get the one that she was smoking. I'm
that
so
one was
mad.
so good. That
I'm
one was
so
good.
mad.
Oh, that one was so good. Yeah, that one was pretty cool. You were there during. You came
know.
to visit us.
I should have just give you the money there and be like, all right, I got it.
You had the opportunity.
Yeah.
You had the opportunity. Yeah, no, that was. It's just like every piece is completely different. I can tell you, like this piece right here, I actually painted it. In the small apartment in Mexico City, next to my bed, because my wife was, Reina was, I think she was sleeping or something. I didn't want to make too much noise, and so like I kind of like was on the side of the bed. So I was literally on the side of my bed, like painting this.
I just realized she has gold chains like a rapper.
Yeah, she has gold chains. Dude, she lived an amazing life. She was super fun.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, two things, because I'm a little bit drunk. One,
yeah.
how do you let these go?
What do you mean? How do I let them go?
like I get it, people buy them off you, but like,
right.
like this is amazing.
It's an appreciation. Right? I think it's an
so
appreciation.
It's like, how do you just go like, all right, here, like you can have.
Well,
this.
because I know at the end of the day, there's gonna be an endpoint, right? Of my painting, it's gonna be an endpoint. It doesn't mean that it's done. It's just there's an endpoint. Like I feel like it's done.
There's no attachment to it.
There's 100% attachment. Like I'm attached to the story of how this was created. I'm attached to it because it was our smaller apartment. It was our first show.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, so you have this attachment, you have this story to it.
I do. And so
how do you just say like, okay, here, like
it's part of the profession. It's like, okay, on to the next one. But what never leaves is the story behind these paintings, right? So I go to my collectors' homes and I see my painting and I just like stare at them. And I'm not staring at the actual painting. I'm staring at the story. I'm thinking about the journey of like how and where I was at during mentally, physically when I was painting that, you know. And I can tell you exactly every single piece, like what I was doing. You know, sometimes I name my pieces and I forget that I'm like Raina would be like, hey, you know, you should be like, oh, hey, the piece Joe Blow, whatever, you know, it's, you know, how much did it sell for? And I was like, Joe Blow, which one's that one again? And then she would show me and I'll be like, okay. So with like these Fridas, the only way that I would remember would be like Frida 1, Frida 2, Frida 3. It's almost like UFC 1, UFC 2, UFC 3. I was like, it's hard. I remember when I first started painting, I got to a point where I was like, God damn, I can't think of a name. And it'll take me like a week to think of a name. And I was like, that's too much. Like, why am I stressing out about a name? And so there would be the numbers. It would be like super basic names, you know. And but then if there is a huge story behind it, then I will name it that, right? If I feel it, right? Or like my Catrinas, I named them. Or Raina helps me name them sometimes because I'm like, I can't think of a name. She looks like a, you know, like a Florencia, you know. And she's like, yeah, she does.
Like Florencia 13, bro?
Yeah, I know, right? And so we would do that. But yeah, for the most part, it's I'm attached, and you can't get rid of the stories behind these paintings.
Yeah, it was really cool because like when I saw your the newest Frida painting that you did, when I go visit you, it wasn't complete. You know,
it wasn't complete.
Yeah, so I'm just when I look at this, right? I'm thinking to myself like, man, that was that at some point. He had that like, you know.
Yeah,
in his room somewhere, and like the flowers weren't like done yet, or something like that, and like
it was cool. You know, I'm so blessed and so grateful that when I show progress shots of like a piece that I'm working on, people will just buy them. Like they're not even done yet, and they're like, "How much is it?" I was like, "Oh, this is how much it's going for," and I was like, "It's not done yet, though," and they're like, I trust the process. I love your work. I don't care. I go on it," and I'm just like, oh, like I'm so blessed. Like it's just like I said, like I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed that I'm able to do this and I'm able to share.
Dude, so what happened? Because like, okay, you get laid off. Raina says we're staying in Mexico City for the time being, and so you got to figure it out.
I got to figure it out.
And so, what do? You just say I'm gonna fucking start painting?
I had paintings already. And there's one painting, the last work. So I like painting World Cups, the trophy, every 4 years, like when we have a World Cup. And I like painting them.
Next year.
Yeah, and I like painting them because you can see the progress of my work, right, as I go. And so there's this picture of me wearing a blue demon mask, and there's an easel. You'll see it on my Instagram, and there's an easel right there. And I put like some sort of quote like, "Don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. Just follow your passion." It was something like that. And I was like, all right, we're gonna do it. You know. And yeah, I took that painting, and me and Raina walked around Mexico City to galleries, and we'd walk in, and I was like, hey, what is the process of like you guys representing me, or me putting one of my pieces?
Oh no
way! Know, in your gallery? I was like, here's my work, you know. And they're like, oh, that's cool. That's really good. She's like, oh, the way we do it is, you know, you send us a PDF of your work, like your body of work, and then we present it in front of our board or whoever. Yeah, right. It's like it's just like the owner or something.
Yeah.
And then when we have some room available, you know, we'll connect with you and we'll get your work in here. And I was like, And so in my head, what I was thinking was, I'm gonna walk in with my painting. They're gonna be blown away. They're gonna rip the painting out of my hand, and they're gonna just like display it. Like that was the number one thing that I was thinking, because I felt like my work was that good, and I still feel like my work is that good. And so when my expectations weren't met during galleries, I was a little discouraged. But what that ended up doing was it brought up like a light bulb. Like, you know what? Maybe we just do this ourselves, you know? And so that's what we ended up doing. We ended up finding space, gallery space here in the LA. That was my first show, my first like solo show in LA. And we're like, all right, well, we have a show. You know, I think it was like January 7th or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're gonna show all my work, and then invite friends and family and whoever wants to come. Right?
Was it just friends and family?
It was a mixture of like everybody, but I would say 80% was friends and family, and then 20% was like dudes like walking around, or dudes that follow me, people that follow me that have been following me for like a month or two from LA.
You know what's great? To see your progression from like the show in LA and then the show in Mexico City.
It's crazy, right?
Oh my God. The fact
crazy.
that you had like the food pairing with every painting. Man. She's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Oh man, we're taking it to different levels.
Yeah.
But see, that's what makes it so fun, right? It's like, so when we went to these galleries and they're like, oh no, it's okay. No, it's okay. And they're like, you know, we'll do it ourselves. And so what that does, it opens up like a Pandora box of ideas of what you can do, and everything is under our control, right? Like Rain and I were just like, you know, we're like, okay, we'll just look for space. And the funny story is that the first show, I painted all this work. I had like 20 works, right? But I had to ship them to LA. And so when Riot let me go, they're like, hey, we can ship your stuff back whenever you want. It's always available. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to ship like 80% of my work.
Yeah.
Right. And so in November, I was like, shows in January, I'm going to ship everything November. And I did. I shipped everything November. And I'm like following this truck. Right. Because remember, 80% of my work is there.
Yeah.
And I'm like following it and following it and following it. And I get to LA.
Oh, how funny. You don't even trust it.
No, I don't trust it. I get to LA. Well, because we have the show. Everything's already set. We have musicians. Everything's set. We get to LA. And we get to LA, and it's like, I think it's like 3 weeks before the show. And I'm following it, and it's stuck in like Laredo, Texas.
What the fuck?
And I'm like, it's the holidays too, you know? And so.
Well, that's right, because your show's in January and stuff. Yeah.
So this is during Christmas. So it's going. And I'm literally contacting, like, I personally, not now, but like I personally knew like the truck driver and then
really?
like the call center. Yeah. Because I would call them every day, and I was like, hey, you know, where you guys at? Oh, we're still stuck. We're still stuck. Well, we're going to depart in like 2 days. All right, I call in 2 days. 2 days, oh, we're still stuck. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then at one point, I told her, I was like, well, let's go to the art store. I went to the art store, and I got like 7 canvases.
You're like, I'm going to paint.
I got to the art core. I got 7 canvases, and I called my buddy who owns like 3 of my works. And I was like, can you help me out? Can I borrow some of your stuff? Can I borrow 3 of your, I like all 3 of your Eflos? And he's like, yeah, for sure. And then so I was like, okay, now I have like, I was like, I think in my head, I was like, okay, I have maybe 7 pieces of work right now. I was like, and you walk into the gallery, and the gallery needs at least 20 to 30 pieces. I was like,
oh shit, that's a lot.
That's a lot. And I was like, okay, well, let's figure it out, you know. And so yeah, and that first one I ended up doing was like the agave plant, and then I did a blue demon, and then I did like some Disney's. I did some like small Disney pieces that are charcoal and acrylic.
Dude, so like I know you're a big luchador fan.
Yeah.
Dude, how did that whole thing come back with like the mural that you did for
that's another story. Oh my God, I have tons of stories for you.
Yeah.
But let me finish this one.
Okay.
What happened was I finished maybe like 5 pieces of work, 2 paintings and like 3 Disney stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like this is like filled with like my art show is going to be filled with soccer and Disney. And this whole time I'm showing like Mexico inspired stuff, you know, and I'm like, they're going to come, they'll be like, oh, this is cute. But we saw all your Mexican stuff. Where is it? You know, because people were like loving like the pink Frida, you know, and like this Frida. People were like, and I was like, oh, and I was already thinking in my head, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to tell them. I was like, for your first show coming out, like, it's nice as friends and family, but at the same time, like, you have these expectations. And so, anywho, a day before the show,
get out of here.
It arrives.
Get out of here.
Everything, yeah. A day before the show, and I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, you know, your stuff. Like 2 days before the show, like, oh, your stuff is in LA, but it's locked up. And I was like, where is? It was like in the, I think in the port, Long Beach port or somewhere. I was like, it's locked up. And I was like, can I go get it? You know, and they're like, no, because everything has to get checked first. You know, and I was like, do you know how long that's gonna take? It should take a day. I was like, oh. I was like, I'll be there. Just let me know when they start checking. When my stuff gets through, then I'll pick it up. And they're like, no, it doesn't work that way. We have to like fully deliver to your place. You can't just like, you know, intercept it, you know? Yeah. And so, and at this point I was like, it is what it is. It's out of my control. You know, I've done so much to get to this point, you know? And then, she just arrives a day before the show. And I'm just like, I was like, oh my God, thank you, God.
So wait, when did you get it?
I got it a day before the show. No, the day before the show. So the day of, all morning we're hanging, and then like around 3:00 we finished hanging, and then we had brought our clothes. We ended up changing there, and I think 6:00 show started, and then Los comes in at like. The show was from 6 to 10. Los comes in like at 10:30. 10:30. Hey, I'm here. I was like, hey, what's up, brother? And you were just loaded. And you're like, hey, how much for that piece? And I told you, you're like, I want it. And I was like, okay.
Bro, if I would have known the prices back then, I should have got more, bro.
Should have got more, yeah.
Should have got more.
That shit was funny. And then I was like, all right, I'll deliver it to you in like 2 days, 2-3 days. And you're like, no.
Because when I bought the new one, I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Inflation has gone up.
Yeah, inflation has gone up. Yeah, it's gone up. Yeah, my work is more expensive. Like, people tell me nowadays.
I love that, though. I love it, dude.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to work that way, though, right?
It's supposed to fucking work that way.
It's one of those things where, dude,
But that's the thing. That's exactly the thing that I want to tell you. It's like, you know, going back to like the modern art thing and stuff like that. I'm like, especially the new Frida that I bought. I was just like, how much is it? Okay, I'm like, you know what? Every fucking penny is worth it.
Oh,
look at this.
I appreciate it.
Because you go look at it and you're just like, oh, this is like a real. Yeah. This is a real fucking painting, bro.
Well, a lot of people actually like tell me that when they tell my wife.
It's a real fucking painting.
Well, because my wife introduces me as like as a painter or a fine artist. You know, he's what's he do for a living? Oh, he's a fine artist. And they're like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's cute. You know, and then like they start seeing my work and they start seeing like me online. And
but it's
like,
nothing like seeing it in person.
No, it's
bro.
nothing. It's nothing.
It's
and then when
but
then when they see it in person, they're like, oh, well, you didn't tell us he was like a real artist.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, shit.
Like he really knew how to paint.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that stuff just like makes me laugh. Man. Yeah. It's been like it's been super fun. And like, I think people like you because you see more into it, you know, you see it more as like, not only like an investment, but like a piece that you're so like happy, you know, and like you like walk into your room, you walk in here and you see it and it like makes you smile or just like brings joy to you, you know. And that's the thing
like
that
I'll be honest with you, like if you blew up and that thing was now worth $20,000, it wouldn't matter to me. That's not what it was about. You know what I mean?
No, of course not. I mean, that's not. It's never about that, but it's always nice.
It's about having something beautiful for me.
Yeah, and that's totally cool. I always tell people, I was like, when they buy my paintings, I was like, oh, it's the best investment you made in your life. But I think about it as because it's like I know that I'm gonna be like a great artist, you know. And
well,
like,
you are a great.
That's
artist.
I have to like keep on telling myself that because being an artist, you're very vulnerable, right? When you put your work out there, and like any little thing that people say about your work, and if it's negative, you're just like, oh, you just kind of like just shrink, right? It's like, no, like I have to remember everything that I've done in my art career, and that's just and not just painting, you know. And it's like,
so question for you. So then, what kept you in Mexico City?
Well, see, that's the thing. So my wife found this group and she just like enjoyed it, right? And I was like, okay, she's having a good time. Mexico's beautiful.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, Mexico's beautiful. Mexico City's beautiful. And so we had made a pact.
Mexico City is my favorite city in the world.
It's a beautiful city. People don't know about it, and all the negative. I think all the negativity towards Mexico country as a whole.
So weird, dude. Like when I was like, "Oh, I'm going to Mexico City," everybody, be careful, be careful.
Yeah, you can't. Just go there and go there with someone. Even if you go there with someone you don't know, like you're gonna enjoy it. It's such a beautiful, friendly. The first place. Actually, we were there for about 2 days. The second day, we went to go eat at this restaurant, and we were just eating, and then the people right next to us, they got up, and before they left, they're like, provecho. And I looked at my wife, I was like, what does that mean? You know, and she was like, because she was like, oh, muchas gracias. And I was like, you know, what does that mean? And she's like, just like, you know, I hope you have a good meal.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, what? I was like, that's insane. Like, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know you, and you're just like, hey, I hope you have a good meal. And they just walked out, and I was like, babe, that's insane. That's pretty awesome.
Dude,
you know?
I don't even know how often I've been to Mexico City and like either taken an Uber or like just hung out with people.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Mi casa es su casa.
That's a thing. They
Usted
always
tiene
say
casa.
that. Yeah.
Usted tiene casa cuando quiera.
Everybody.
And I'm like,
everybody.
you're like a random stranger, and you're saying like, whenever I come back to Mexico, I can stay
Yeah.
with you. Like, it's so special.
It's honestly very special. It's one of those cities that people, like I said, it's like the negativity is in regards to all of Mexico. You know, like Mexico has its issues, just like every other country. But that doesn't stop people from going to Hollywood. Hollywood is fucking terrible.
It's wild.
Like
yeah.
we just drove by Hollywood Boulevard. I'm like, man, this is not fun, you know? But anywho, there's like people come here with the notion of like, oh, it's beautiful lights, stars. And then they get here and they're like, downtown LA is a little rough, you know?
Right.
But there's like pockets that are beautiful. And the same thing with Mexico City. There's like things that are beautiful, the food. And then you spend $5 on like these amazing street tacos, and you're just like, I just.
If anything, I see it the other way, where Mexico City is overall beautiful, and it has pockets of like, you know, bad places. And
No,
stuff
of
like
course. I mean, like I said, that's yeah, you're right. I think there's
And I
more
love
good.
that-
There's more good. For me, I feel like there's
yeah.
more good than bad.
Yeah, and I love the fact that it's like built on a forest. Like, there's so much fucking
Oh
green
man,
there.
there's
Like,
beautiful. Did you go to the castle, the Castillo de Chapultepec?
No.
You been there? Oh, you gotta go there. It's beautiful. It's like the castle there, Benito Juarez and Maximiliano.
I have a question for you,
Yes.
because one of your paintings is Teotihuacan, right?
The pyramids.
Yeah, the pyramids.
Yeah. That was insane. That's beautiful.
Okay, you being Mexican and stuff, but like, you know, growing up in LA, when you go back to Mexico, do you get anything out of that? Like, is there some sort of like, oh shit, like these are my people, this kind of where it came from originally? Like,
You don't get it.
And then you go to the pyramids, and then you're just like, fuck, like.
That's what it is. It's always history. It's almost like it takes back to like when these churches, right, that you go into that they're old and they just kind of repaint things, and
Yeah.
or like the basilica, and you're like, oh man, I'm like a part of history. You know, that's how the pyramids felt. But you also get this energy, like there's this crazy energy when you get to the top of the pyramids or just the pyramid grounds. You just like feel like, for me, it's a lot. I don't focus, but like you feel some sort of way, you know, and you feel like this energy. Yeah, it's like when you like get to when you meet somebody, you kind of like already have some sort of like vibe. They have some sort of energy around them.
Yeah.
Right? It can be a very easygoing, loose, positive one, or you can be like a very like strong, you know, and you don't even know who they are, but you're just like, ooh, man, that is some strong energy around you, you know, and then you just kind of base, you know, your relationship with that person off of that energy. And then when you get to the pyramids, you feel that you're just like, oh man, this is like very powerful, very positive. Like, even though there is a lot of rough things going on during those times, you know, you have like the death pathway, right? Where you like, it's like the,
Yeah.
you know, where you're like walking, you know, at the end of that pathway, you're going to be sacrificed. So you're just going to die, you know? And, but you get all that energy.
There's
that
something
power.
to that too, though.
Well, it's all has to do with tradition, right? It has to do with tradition, history. It's a culture, right? All that stuff it's still in Mexico City. The culture's still there.
Because you gotta remember, like Teotihuacan, nobody actually knows the original purpose for it because the people disappeared.
Right.
So when the Aztecs got there,
right,
they called it like, the land of the gods or whatever. And so because of that, they started that ritual because they're like, this is where the gods were born.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it goes back to like all the traditions and stuff like that because like you think the Aztecs, they're just like, hey, look at this place. It's already built.
Right.
This place must be crazy.
Yeah.
So if this place was built at that time, it must have been the gods. Because look at it. Look
Look
like
how perfect it is. Yeah.
Look how perfect it is, right?
Perfect. And it's, man, it's like that place when I was commissioned to paint that, I was just like overwhelmed. I was like, oh my, I mean, I was overwhelmed with like, I knew how much I was going to put into it, and B, like at the end of the day, I knew what feeling I wanted to get out of it when people see it, and this was part of a conversation that I had with my collector. I was like, his biggest thing was like, I want to make sure people understand how like big and powerful like this situation is. And so I was like, 100% get it.
You think anything can grasp that besides like in person?
I think in person. I think once you get there in person, you definitely feel it. I think from my painting, you feel like this is grand. I want to go visit it, and then you get there, and you're like, holy shit! I love the introduction that you gave me through your painting. I know that it's huge. I know that it's big. I know that this is like a special place. But yeah, when you get there, I mean, you look up to the pyramids, you're like, holy crap, like this is, people walk this, like there's something going on here a long time ago, and I see, we go up there, there's people who take their shoes off, they're walking around like, the top of the pyramids.
Bro, it sucks because you can't do that anymore. You can't walk up the pyramids.
Yeah, no, you can't. I give it a couple
because
years.
of all the, because I guess all the wear and tear that's happening.
Yeah. Well, because it's crazy. There's just so many like people who go to visit there. So many people. Like people who come visit us and they're like, "Hey, can you take me to the pyramids?" I was like, "I've been there like 10 times." So I usually just connect them with.
Bro, next time I go there, let's go. And then let's take some shrooms or something like that. Get real wild with it.
It's too hot. It's too hot to do any of that stuff. It's so
get
hot.
Out of here.
I gotta drink a lot of water. Get hydrated.
Get water. Get.
Yeah, I think right at this point, I enjoy it, but I'd rather do other things.
Get one of those like.
Those are so funny, huh? Can you do that again? That reminds me of it. That's so good because that is probably one of my favorite things. You just hear,
bro, but the jaguar,
is that like a cougar or jaguar? What is that?
I didn't realize that the fact that like the jaguar is so much part of our fucking ancestry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
like,
the culture is beautiful, man, and that's one thing that when people always ask me, what's the biggest difference between like Mexico and like the U.S. and I was like, I think, and I always say I think it's the culture, But the U.S. has its own culture. They do. But I've lived here so long that I never really pay attention to the culture because I'm like, of course, hamburger and fries. Like you get the Ford cars, you got the cars. You got all this like amazing history that the U.S. has.
What do you think is U.S. culture?
What do I think is U.S. culture? I think it's Hollywood. I think it's the media. I think it's like good old fashioned like cars. Like back in the day, those cars were beautiful. I think
like the muscle cars and stuff.
Yeah, the muscle cars, even the trucks, like all that stuff. I think a lot of it's been lost.
You know what's so funny? I feel the people that can tell you more about what American culture is are not Americans. It's other people.
But it's true.
Because they'll tell you.
No, it's true because when I was here, I didn't really pay attention to it because it was just like another day in LA, right? But when I went to Mexico, I started appreciating the culture and experiencing it, and then I started kind of thinking to myself, I was like, oh, okay, well, like El Día de Independencia in Mexico, like they go crazy.
Yeah.
They go crazy. I was like, in the States, I was
like, especially you live in Mexico City.
So. Yeah, no, they go crazy. And I was like, okay, well, Independence Day, July 4th.
Bro, like the president's like fucking palace is there.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
No,
to just have like the White House. Just
but everybody's involved. Everybody's involved. Like you see, houses with flags, and they, in the corner they're like sending flags. Everybody's about, like, something is happening in Mexico City a week before and the Dia de Independencia, right?
Yeah, you know what I found really interesting is that and this is what I found like very different, like when I came here, is that over here you're African American, you're Mexican American, you're Asian American, whatever American, right?
Yeah.
But like, it was just so weird to me because like when I was growing up in Mexico, we had all the things like Asian people, Black people, Muslim, like Saudi Arabian people, or Middle Eastern people. Sorry, we had all that. But you know what? Regardless of what you were, you were just Mexican.
You're Mexican, yeah.
There was no like Middle Eastern. There's no Middle Eastern Mexican. There's no African Mexican. There was no like fucking Mexican. Like you're just
Mexican from Belize. You just happen to have dark skin.
Yeah. And the thing is that like, dude, that flag means so much to us.
Yeah.
And that thing like blankets all of us. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what you look like, what language you speak, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you're just fucking Mexican because, like, the culture is so strong.
Yeah, the culture's strong.
And it's just so weird to me that coming over here, that, like, do you have to be, like, like...
something American.
Yeah. It's like, just be American, man.
Yeah. I know it's been crazy. I think one of the things that I've realized is that if you live in a certain area for a long time, you don't appreciate it as much.
Yeah.
Until you leave it, and then you start like thinking about like, oh man, I never visited, X, Y, and Z. Like Raina and I travel so much within Mexico because of all these beautiful places. There's tons of beautiful places in the States, tons, but we've never really like wanted to go anywhere because we're so comfortable in our little bubble in LA, But when we're in Mexico, it's like, oh, let's go to Oaxaca. They have like these amazing pyramids. They have amazing beaches. Let's go, to like Huatulco. Yeah. They have it's just beautiful. We had the opportunity to do that in LA too, or in the States, and all of a sudden we're just going to Vegas and coming back to LA.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point too at this day and age where I'm just like, you know what? There's so much of Mexico that I have not seen.
Yeah.
And it's a goddamn fucking tragedy.
Yeah. I mean, we've thought about that too with the fact that there's like Reina's never been to New York. She wants to go to New York, and New York's like, we've been to New York a couple of times, and it's awesome. She wants to go during the winter. And I was all like, you want to go during Christmas?
Tell her no.
And she's like, yeah. I want to see, the lights and how beautiful it is. Because,
just do it once. Just do it once.
We went, me, my brother, my sister, we went during Christmas, and it was beautiful, but it was so cold. I was like, she's like, I want to go. I was like, so I think I might have to bite the bullet and end up, going.
She's from LA.
Yeah,
tell her like, hey, you don't know what it's like to be -3.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna hate it.
Yeah, exactly. But you gotta experience it though.
I think fall would be best.
No, you gotta go during Christmas because you get the lights.
So we went during Christmas, and here's the thing, like with the Christmas tree and like how busy it is, the snow.
Yeah,
I get it.
I have the patience to kind of just like go through all that stuff. Like it's fine. Like I'll wait in line for 2 hours. At the expense of my wife wanting to see the tree. I was like, because I'm pretty good. My patience is pretty good.
Yeah.
So like I said, if she wants to do it, then it's fine. Let's do it. But I know that how cold it will get, and I'm just like, we gotta bundle up. So I'll just let her make the call. Like, we're leaving this line. That's not worth it. But again, I was like, it's fine.
So now, do you? I mean, like what we were talking about, like you got laid off. Reina says, "Let's fucking stick it here." Like, do you like Mexico City now? Do you love it? Or?
Yeah. So that was the thing. It's like that was another reason why we decided to stay. And so, like I said, we've made an agreement, Reina.
Because I remember you telling me that I should move there.
Yeah, you should definitely move there.
Yeah.
When people come, when I have like friends come visit us, they don't want to go back. They're just like, this is Mexico City, and I was like, this is Mexico City. We would go to the Plaza de Bally where, you can go and there's like a tequila museum. You enter the tequila museum, you grab a tequila and you walk out to this huge patio where you have like mariachis just standing there waiting for you to hire them, and then you just pop that bottle and you're like dancing.
You know what I like is the fact that like I feel like Mexico's is a lot like other countries, like Korea and stuff like that. Other places I've been to where it's about having a good time.
100%. It's about having a good time.
It's about food.
Yeah.
It's about being with friends.
Yeah.
It's about having a good time.
So there's pros and cons to that, right? I think the pro is the fact that you're happy. You know what you got, and that's all you need. You're happy with your life.
Yeah.
The cons is that's it.
You're happy. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, but that's like you plateau. Your happiness like plateaus, right? It's because you don't want to work extra to get to like a certain another level of your life where like, okay, well maybe it's time for me to buy property, or maybe it's time for me to like invest. It's not that. It's like, okay, I'm going to focus on what I have, and that's all I need. Well, and it's because it's a culture thing, like generation after generation after generation, right? Like you do have that culture there. Like I said, and it's 100% okay. People like have beautiful lives out there, and sometimes that's all they need. And it's okay. But with me, I can't. Like we were having this conversation earlier. I can't sit in front of a TV and just like watch it because I feel like I'm wasting my life. I have to go into the room and paint. I have to do something productive. I can't.
That's my problem. My problem is this. My problem is I have so much to do all the time. Like, I don't have to edit this podcast. I don't have to write music. I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
All this and all that.
Yeah.
And then, like, but if I lay down on the couch and smoke weed, I'm just like,
you're done.
I'm like,
you're done.
Yeah, I'll do it some other time, you know.
Well, then you start kind of like prioritize what makes you happy, though, right?
Yeah.
And so we came to LA, and I got to do commissions.
That's so crazy to me that on your vacation you're doing commissions.
Bro, I don't have vacations. That's the thing. My vacation is like my whole life. That's the thing. Like I can stop, and it has happened where me and my wife were like, okay, we have a trip to we had a trip to, what was that place called? Bacalar. I was like, okay, we have a trip to Bacalar. And she's like, yeah, but you got a show in 2 months. And I was like, I'll take some of my paintings, and I take a canvas and I go out there and I attempt to paint, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But that's just it. It's like I have the ability to just drop everything, go on vacation for a week, work either on my vacation, on a painting or whatever. Oh man, excuse me again. But that's it. That's like the life that I want to live, right? I want to have the option to just drop everything and go on vacation.
Yeah.
So I come out here, I'm painting. We're also pushing out prints because we're starting to kind of, have these prints available. We're trying to go into the print business, right?
How does that work, by the way?
So the way that works,
because it's like you don't have the original.
So yeah, okay. So this is actually a really good question. I'm glad that you actually brought that up because the hardest thing to understand is like what is an artist print, right? Because when the word print comes to mind, you're like, oh, Kinko's or like Office Max. You just like scan like something and. But no, what my G Clay prints are, is a professional photographer who has tons of experience. I take my painting to him. He takes a photo, like a super high resolution photo of my painting. So I get the file. He edits it. He plays it with colors. He color edits it, and then he sends me back the file. I look at it. I tweak the colors a little bit. So it's about, I would say, 99% identical to my painting.
No way.
Yeah. It's really, really close. And then you also see like brush strokes. You see the texture in the painting. Yeah. So
that's how high resolution.
That's how high resolution, right?
Is. Oh, okay.
And so then after that, then you go to an actual print shop that prints out these G Clay prints that when you looking at the print, you're like, oh my God, it almost feels like that's the painting. Yeah. So there's no like blur marks, when you do.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
and so people like some people enjoy that. People want to have. Sometimes people can't afford like my originals.
I would never
but
do that. I would
but
just
they
get the
wanna
original, homie.
But there's like art for everybody, right? And there's people that love to collect.
Yeah, your
there's people
shit's
that love
fucking
to
cool,
collect
though.
my prints, you know. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, it's this high resolution print. Like you get it, and it's on this really like thick, like lasted matte paper that's beautiful. So you pull it out, and it's like you can already automatically feel that whatever you spend on the
And
print
then you
is
were also
worth it.
doing tequila bottles.
Doing tequila bottles, yeah. That was also another project that kind of just spun off and went crazy. I had no idea that I was gonna do so
Do
well.
you still have those left, or?
I still have like 2 or 3 left. Yeah, from this year, 2021, and then
And so, Eflo, how do people get a hold of? How can people see your stuff? How can people buy your stuff?
you go to Instagram at eflo_art on Instagram, on Facebook. You just go to same thing / I think it's eflo-art, or you go to our website www.eflo-art.com.
Absolutely amazing, bro.
So
I told you, I'm a big fucking fan.
thank you,
But,
thank you for everything, dude. Thank you for like introducing me to public speaking. Thank you for like the podcast. Thank you for being part of the family. It's just like I'm so grateful to have you.
Yeah.
And
I'm so grateful to have
fam.
you. So here's the thing. So we're gonna do it's a thing I call last call.
last call. Okay.
Yeah.
Last call for alcohol.
Yeah. You know.
Yes, of course.
So I'm gonna ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then you just answer it truthfully.
Wow. How many? Is this like Spitfire? Like
Yeah.
first thing that comes to mind? Oh,
You don't have
wow.
to. You don't have to.
Did you write all these questions while you were sitting on the toilet?
No.
Oh, okay, just checking. Sure.
All right. What's your McDonald's order?
What's my McDonald's order? 2 cheeseburgers, fries, and it's usually like a root beer if they have it. If not, it's a
Root beer.
Is that a
Okay.
root beer or a Coke? One of those two, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Do you like chicken nuggets?
I think I used to until someone questioned it and was like, "Is that really chicken?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I'll have any more of those."
Really?
But yeah, I used to be a chicken nugget guy with sweet and sour
delicious.
sauce. Sweet and sour sauce was my thing.
They're delicious regardless. All right. Summer or winter?
Summer, 100%, 100%.
What do you have against winter?
It's just too fucking cold, dude.
Yeah.
I can't deal with the cold.
All right. What would you rather have? A good Mai Tai or whiskey neat?
Mai Tai, whiskey's too strong for me.
Okay. All right. Chicago, New York, LA. What's the best city?
Oh, LA, 100%. Are you kidding me?
I knew you were going to say that.
Of course, that's easy.
All right. If you could travel anywhere in the world,
Oof.
where would it be?
Oof.
Have you been to Paris?
I have, but I just kind of like I kind of fell into Paris for a little bit. I went to go visit my buddy in Germany. He was playing pro soccer out there, and I went to go visit him for a little bit. But while he was training and kind of doing his thing, me, his brother, his cousin, and his future wife, just kind of took the train and we just went through Europe and we fell into Paris. We went to Disneyland out there, but I never really got to experience it. You know what I mean? I don't really think you get to experience it until you get older and you have like an itinerary to like, okay, this is what we're going to do. You know?
All right. So what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think it would be a place. I think it'd be more of an experience.
Shut
like,
the fuck up.
Yeah, it's like, what do you want to
Name
like,
a fucking country that you
Oh
want to take
my
Raina
God.
to.
There's a lot. Greece.
Number one.
I
Number one.
I want to go to Greece. I want to.
Where does she want to go?
What does she want to do? Oh, she wants to do a lot of things. Okay, so she was scared to fly, and so now when we went to Barcelona like 2-3 years ago,
Oh, no way.
She's like, okay, I'm good. We can go to Europe now, and so like things opened up, right? So we do like Greece.
Did you go see a game?
We did. I went to go see Barcelona game. Went to go see Messi play, scored a goal.
Oh,
that was that was on the bucket list. So that was one of my regrets in life was not seeing some of my heroes.
Bro, so if shit was going down, right? Like satellites are falling on all that shit, right?
Armageddon's happening.
Yeah. And you had to save one person, who would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh man.
Actually, you know what? You have a wife and kids. I'm not gonna make you answer
that's
that.
a tough one.
Yeah.
I
All
was
right.
like,
Hip hop or country?
oh, hip hop. Are you kidding me?
Really?
I grew up hip hop. True, I got more fans than the average man, but now I look to last me to the end of the week. I live by the beat like you live to neck. Yeah, dude, I've been.
All right, clubs or dive bars?
Oh, you know what? I was never really a club person. I was always like a bar person.
All right, last question.
Yeah.
Who is the best artist of all time besides you, obviously?
Oh man.
And
again, why? I don't think it's like the best art. I think it's more for me. It's more of appreciation. Like I appreciate Picasso. I appreciate Dali. I appreciate current artists like Justin Bua. I like Paul Wright. These guys all inspire me to do what I do. You know, it's not like, oh, Picasso's the best. No, he is amazing. I appreciate him for like a lot of things he's done. His journey, you know, Dali's journey. I think I appreciate more the journey than anything else.
Yeah.
Than the actual artist, right? But again, all of their works are amazing, and so there's not one artist. So.
Well, fuck yeah, brother. Well, I appreciate you coming down.
Thank you for
Dude, this
everything.
is so fun.
Oh, this is super fun. Oh man, I think we could probably go for like another
I know we
10
could.
hours
We totally
just talking,
could.
Right? But thank you again for introducing
Bro, last
me.
time I visited you in Mexico City when we just like went to go eat.
Yeah.
And we talked to like 4 hours. I was like, this is a podcast.
That was insane.
Yeah.
That was insane because I was like also in the middle of like finishing up work.
I know.
For the show.
Yeah.
And so I was like, damn, we gotta do work. And so you left that day, and I still stayed until like 3, 4 in the morning painting. So it was fun.
Well, brother, I love you so much, man.
Thank you so much. I love you so much too, and thank you for everything again. I appreciate it. So
I'm just so glad that I know such a talented person.
You're so stupid. Hey, I can't wait to go see your first solo fucking band show.
Oh, we'll see.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Just jump. You know.
Yeah.
You know what they say, right?
What?
They say either God gives you some hints in life what to do, or he fucking kicks you off the cliff to do it.
That makes sense.
And so I felt like I got kicked off the cliff. Yo, you gotta be an artist, fine artist. So, but thank you for everything, Los.
Yeah, you fine artist, motherfucker.